Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It's me, Captain Logan. And joining me, as always, is my fantabulous chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Good evening, DJ. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, man?
Oh, good. Hey, nice save.
Oh, yeah. Quick on the draw.
We've got a special guest tonight. We're going to talk about retro gaming and retro game collecting in this year, 2023, with Joel from the Poor Man's Retro Game Room. And Joel, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. The title's a little long.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I was not sure you needed the word retro, and then I'm like, nah, you do, though, because that's what it's all about. Joel has a really spectacular collection and a really kind of unusual one in the way he's set up. His channel is all about, talking about old games that he has and giving people ideas about how to get their hands on stuff as cheaply as possible, which is a very helpful and useful exercise right now as game prices have skyrocketed since 2020, and it's not the easiest thing to continue to collect anymore. There's all kinds of hurdles and pitfalls these days, but Joel makes it look easy and still fun, which is what I really appreciate about your channel, Joel. And I found you because, like with most things, just YouTube search history, I've watched a ridiculous number of videos about people's collections and like game room tours. I'm really into game room tours, and I discovered yours and was like, he seems interesting and has kind of a smaller channel, and not a lot of people seem to have found him yet. So let's have him on and see if he'll chat with us and try to give him a little bit of exposure. So Joel, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Before I do the usual introductions and such, tell us what you've got going on behind you right now.
All right. Well, I do have In the Hunt, and it's running on my Evercade. And then I've got two CRTs, and I've got Contra Hardcore running on my Sega Genesis. And then you probably can't see this, but it's my Jaguar is playing Cybermorph on my other CRT.
Oh, yes.
That's what I got going on right now. Yeah.
Is Cybermorph, where did you learn to fly?
Yes.
I thought so, yeah.
But that's been blown way out of proportion.
Oh, no, and that's fair, but, it's a popular meme, and I like EVGN, and I think, like most people, that's the only reason I ever heard of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joel's gonna dog me all night for EVGN references. He's gonna be like, look, there's more things out there than James Rolfe, okay?
He is awesome, though, and one of my favorite channels, of course. So, yeah.
I think I've decided at this point my favorite AVGN video is probably Atari Sports. Football!
That's a good one.
Who even is John Madden anyway? He doesn't look like an athlete.
He didn't.
It's wonderful. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm gonna be self-indulgent again tonight and talk about retro games. I know this is not our standard subject, and it's kind of niche for our channel. But for folks that are interested, hope you enjoy this. It's a thing that I like to dip my toe into every now and again. Joel, I am real casual with this particular hobby compared to you. And I expect to get an education, which is part of the reason I like to bring guys like you on. I've done this with a few other folks before, and I always learn a lot. So that is part of the point for me, anyway.
Hopefully, I don't disappoint.
So, guys, real quick, I just want to mention that, as usual, we're going to use Joel as the lead-in topic, and I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, and then feel free throughout the show to throw questions at Joel and the both of us, and we'll talk about whatever you guys want to with relation to this or anything else as well within reason. As always, it's a couple-hour show. If you want to bring up the standard superhero news and movies and sci-fi and those sorts of things, feel free to. But I want to keep it majoritively about retro games tonight. And tomorrow night, quick plug, Austin and I are doing a blind commentary on Lyle the Crocodile. So look forward to that. We're doing that because Austin insists on doing these things. He made me do Clifford last year. And this year we're doing Lyle. And I don't know if he's making a bingo board like he did for Clifford, but join us for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. 10 o'clock Central Time. Neither of us have seen it yet. We know nothing about that movie except for the insanity that was those trailers. And we're going to come in and do that tomorrow evening. Is everybody ready? As always, leave a super chat in any dollar amount. Guarantees we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. But you can also leave regular questions and make sure to tag DJ Martinez because he's the guy that reads the questions. Okay, I'm going to start off, Joel, by asking you to just give us a real brief history about your game collecting. What was your first system? Do you remember your first game, and what got you serious about collecting video games?
Absolutely. My first system was the Atari 2600. And first game was Combat, of course, followed by Pac-Man. And I've always loved video games. And like most people, when you're younger, you're always chasing that better game, the better system, the more powerful system. And finally, I hit an age where I just I don't want to do that anymore. I want to play my games, my old games that bring a lot of nostalgia back to me and that I have fun playing. And so that's when I really got serious. It's probably been about 7-8 years ago that I really got serious about collecting all the games that I used to have. So that's my connection.
Yeah, you're right. When you're a kid, especially when we were growing up, and you may be a few years older than me, starting with the Atari. My first system was technically the Super Nintendo as far as what I owned, but I played the NES first. But yeah, when we were kids, it was all about waiting for those big graphic leaps. Right? And you're
Yep.
like, okay, I'm playing these cool 16-bit games right now, but I know at some point things are going to look super realistic, and you're like really excited for that. And so you're like you said, you're chasing the next big thing. And then when you grow up, all you're doing is buying back your childhood.
Yep. If I could go back in time and grab myself before I traded those games off or those systems off or sold them or gave them away, lost them, whatever.
Yeah.
I would stop.
I think we've all got that story to some degree. I managed to hold on to quite a bit of my stuff, but there's still stuff that I didn't hang on to. Like the big one is I sold Sonic Jam at some point, and I'm still kicking myself. I still hate myself for doing that. So how much would you say percentage-wise of what you had when you were a kid you've managed to buy back up? Obviously, you probably have lots of stuff beyond that also, but is there anything you're still chasing that you used to have, or are you kind of 100% Joel's childhood?
Man, I'm pretty close. And I got in a game today that was kind of one of those that I was chasing, and I haven't opened it yet, but I found it for about half the going rate on eBay, and what it was, complete in box PC game, DOS game, called Witch Haven, and I finally got it complete in box. So there's still a few games out there that I want, but I probably got 90% of what I used to own anyway. Probably around that.
That's really cool. What kind of machine are you running your DOS games on? Are you using the same machine that you recently dug out and started playing Doom on again?
That's one I've been using, but I've decided that I had another system that had Windows XP on it, and I kind of messed around with it, got it up and running, and it covers just a huge time of PC gaming. So I think that's probably my favorite machine. That's my go-to one, and it runs DOSBox perfectly. Plus, it runs some of the the later generation games as well. So yeah, that's the one I retro game on right now.
Were you ever? I was excited. I watched that Windows video that you put out. I think I saw it yesterday, and I thought it was just neat that thing was still running, and you got it on an old CRT. And I like the emphasis you always put on. Look, this thing's beat all to hell, but it still works. It's great. You might as well use it.
Yep, it's amazing. And you know, I knew I had some systems downstairs that have been collecting dust, and so that was one of my goals. I'm really just lately have gotten into that old PC gaming and playing it exactly the way that I used to play it back in the day. That's kind of important too. So CRT monitor with my speakers, you know, and there's just something about that time period that was awesome. So
let me ask you this: how much is it about recapturing nostalgia? Because something I like about your videos is you very often will kind of put in a caveat when you really like something from your childhood, where you'll say, I'm not sure how much of this is just nostalgia, is just reliving the old days, or if it's that it really does hold up that great. Because you can't unknow what you know. It's difficult to kind of put your feelings and your childhood aside and say, no, this would still be great now if I was just now being introduced to it. So like, how much when you're enjoying things like that do you think is nostalgia, and how much of it is just that game is great in the first place and it's timeless? I guess it depends on what it is, maybe.
It does depend on what it is. There are games back in the day that are timeless, that are just as good to play today, even if you don't have nostalgia for it. But a lot of what I collected is nostalgic, because I wanted the stuff I used to play it back in the day. It was just a simpler time, you know, and I was getting kind of fed up with modern gaming, just because, you know, you get a GPS, you run to a point, you do this, you do that, you know, and plus if you want to sit down and play, sometimes it's a 45-minute patch before you can even install a game and get into it. So, you know, a lot of it's nostalgia, some of it's just my preference too. But there are games that I feel back in the day would hold up just as well today, like Super Metroid is one of them. You know, just they're good games no matter what time period you play them in. So
yeah, well, and of course this is subjective and we could argue about this, but in my mind, Super Nintendo is probably the system that has the most, especially from that time period, but that may be the system with the most timeless games that are easy to put in at any time. And like 50 years from now, you know, it's not going to matter that it came out in 1993.
Right. Yeah.
So do you play anything modern at all? Like what is the most recent system you own? Do you have a PS5 or an Xbox Series system, or?
No. And I'm not planning on picking them up until they're, you know, been out a while, come down in price.
That's me too. Yeah, I'm waiting for that system seller game. Like I didn't need a PS4 until Arkham Knight came out.
There you go. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I do some modern PC gaming. Divinity 2: Original Sin is one of my favorite games. Assassin's Creed Origins, I love that game. So there's some modern games, but man, I really enjoy sitting down in small chunks playing games, and a lot of games nowadays require such a time sink that, you know, I just don't get into a lot of modern gaming right now. So
I have exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we move forward, let's watch a little excerpt of Joel's game room tour so you guys can get more of a sense of what his place looks like. And I wanted to show you an excerpt about the Sega Genesis, because Sega is kind of my big video game love, and it's my show, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I'll play just 3 or 4 minutes of this for you, and enjoy.
And then one of the best things about this game room is the built-in cabinet that has a fluorescent light that lights up the entire cabinet there. And you'll see my original Sega Genesis complete in box, including the Golden Axe poster. Shining Force 2, of course, right there, complete in box. That's my most expensive Sega Genesis game, because it is complete in box and it gets pretty pricey at that point. We've got the 6-button Sega Genesis arcade stick. I've just got a new arcade stick that's USB that works on my Switch and my Evercade for Christmas from my wife, and that's that stick there in the middle. And then we're going to go down to the Atari Jaguar box, a box for the controller, my Atari Jaguar gamer book there. And then I've got some modern retro devices here. I love the Evercade. I've been collecting for it like crazy. Very affordable games, very affordable system, and then we've got some of the Hyperkin clone consoles. The NES console is probably the weakest one in that bunch, but you can get some really good performance out of the other 3 consoles there. Below that, I have my.
Joel, what music is playing through that video?
Oh man, you would have to ask me that. Oh man, I'm trying to think. I can't remember what
I was having a hard time pegging down the system. It sounded a little bit like who makes Ninja Turtles? It's not a Ninja Turtles game, but it sounds like
sounded
them.
like a Konami soundtrack. I think that's off of probably one of my one of my different Sega systems. But yeah, I downloaded several tracks and just kind of listened to it and decide what goes well. A lot of times I've used the Streets of Rage soundtrack way too much on my channel, so I was kind of trying to branch out a little bit.
It's easy to do that. It's maybe the best soundtrack on that system in my mind, next to some of the Sonic stuff. So I'm a little jealous of some of your inbox systems. I never got into collecting that stuff, and I never will at this point, probably. If I ever had the chance to buy an inbox Genesis, probably the one that had Sonic packed in and instead of Altered Beast, just because that's the one I had. I would probably get that, but other than that, and maybe a 32X inbox, I would go for that too. But how difficult have those been to get, particularly the Genesis one? How did you get your hands on that?
That's actually one I had. So
that's great.
There's one system that I kind of had over the years that I just kept and I've always had it. I'd break it out every now and then, but so that's probably the one and only system that's original to me that I had back in the day. Yeah.
I will ask you one more question real quick, and then we'll start getting to viewer questions, because we've got a few pouring in. But Joel, I want you to tell me, I'm going to ask you just a real broad, irritating kind of question, and that is, do we now live, in your mind, in the best or the worst time, or somewhere in the middle, to play retro games? Are you glad it's 2023, or do you wish it was 2005? That's my question.
That's a great question. And I think that we are living in a really good time right now to play retro games. There's so many options out there, and there's a lot of affordable options too. If you don't mind playing on an HD TV and doing some emulation like the Evercade, right now there's so much available to you and so many options that I think it's a great time to play retro games. It's tough to collect the old original stuff because it's so expensive now. So you kind of got to watch, and it's weird because you'll see like the Super NES, those games will be really high priced. If you wait a while and you kind of wait, they fluctuate. They do come down, and that's part of it. If you're collecting for the original stuff, is just to really be patient and know what you want. I honestly collect, most of the things that I collect is stuff that I play. So it's not just to sit on the shelf, but I actually play it. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's important to note also that cartridges and discs will not last forever.
It's true.
So that expensive whatever it is, Earthbound or whatever that you buy, just to have the original thing. I understand as a collector, because I collect a lot of stuff myself, of course, that it's nice to have that just to have it, but that may not be the way you're able to play it forever. And so if you're a purist, and I've never really understood, with respect to everybody, I've never understood really that mindset of like I'm a purist, you must play it only on the original hardware. Okay, 20 years from now, you're not going to be able to. So get used to it is kind of my attitude.
To me, there's no wrong way to do it. Whatever works for you, whatever you enjoy, that's the way to go, man. And they're
I don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking original hardware, because I love having stuff on original hardware. But I just think those folks are going to be very, very sad in 2045 when none of their cartridges work anymore.
They could, but I will tell you that a cartridge, just my experience, lasts longer than a CD.
Sure, yeah.
CD-based games are exposed to disk rot, and I mean there are
Yeah.
issues that you gotta realize. You buy a PlayStation game, it's not gonna last forever. So
Well,
yeah, you're right.
what about batteries? Like, are they all replaceable? Like
Yeah, they
cartridge
are.
batteries.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just kind of got into that because the Shining Force 2 that I have complete in box, the battery went out on it. And so just
Oh,
with a little bit of soldering, you can take that battery out and replace it, and do it right. But there's some games that have batteries where you can just take them out and replace them. But yeah. And I don't think that alters the condition of the game. You want it to work and save your progress. That's not a big deal to me. So
yeah, I agree too. DJ, let's go ahead and go to the proverbial phones. And we
right.
actually haven't heard from DJ at all so far. DJ's not a big gamer, but DJ, first of all, just remind us all the stuff that you grew up with, and have you hung on to anything when you were a kid, video game wise?
I was a much bigger gamer when I was a kid. I would say high school is when I got out of it, but I was a huge Nintendo kid. We had all the systems except for 64. So I had Super Nintendo. I actually had a PlayStation 1, and then we went back to Nintendo and I got the GameCube and then the Wii. And then, I mean, I've had a Wii U and I have a Switch now. So I've always had all the Nintendo systems, and I had all the Game Boys and all the DS and stuff. But my brother was a much bigger gamer, so when I moved out, I left all the consoles and all the games to him. So I don't have anything. Well, actually, I have my PlayStation and my PlayStation games still, and I have my Super Nintendo games still. But I don't have anything to play my Super Nintendo's on right now. I need to get one of those. I had like a FC Twin that I could play Super Nintendo games on, but
sure.
I don't have that anymore. I need to get something that I can play those on. Because my son is just now getting into games. He likes playing Mario Kart. He's 4. And
Oh, that's great that he started playing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was just playing Mario Kart on Switch before I put him to bed a little while ago.
Because when I was at your place a couple months ago, you didn't even have your Switch out.
No, I just hooked it up, and he's been playing it like mad the last couple weeks, and he loves it.
Now, Joel, you probably have a Switch, right?
Yeah. It's one of the best modern consoles out there that actually has a lot of retro games on it.
Do you collect physical for it?
I try to. But there's some of those digital sales that I just can't pass up. So I'm not going to lie, man. Probably the majority of my Switch library is digital. But I've got 6, 7 games. Streets of Rage 4 I wanted physical.
I still haven't played
the new
that.
Metroid.
I need to.
Yeah. It's good.
I'm assuming that's probably how you have Sonic Mania?
Nope. It's actually, I would love to have a physical copy of Sonic Mania, but I've got it digital. Yeah.
But I just meant probably on Switch, right? That's probably how you play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. You bet.
Okay, now we're going to go to the proverbial phones. DJ, what are people asking about, sir?
All right, I'll go ahead and knock out these 2 super chats, and then I'll go back to, because we got a lot of questions before that. But TH1 puts in a $5 super chat.
Thanks, Tom.
In your opinion, in a 16-bit RPG, what is more important, story or gameplay? Great show tonight.
That's a terrific question, Tom.
I'm going to say both. I mean, it's important. If you have just a great story, that can kind of get you past some of the gameplay issues, but so one or the other can kind of mask maybe a weakness in the other. But when you have both, that's golden right there. So both are very important in my opinion.
Can you even think of an example of that, an RPG with a rockin' story that was unplayable?
Man. No, not off the top of my head, man.
And then wouldn't you just wonder why it wasn't a novel?
Why? Yeah. Yeah.
Just make it a book then. No, I agree with your answer.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, there are RPGs that are, and I'm not a big RPG guy, but there are RPGs that are probably a lot of fun to play and have a somewhat mediocre story, but the gameplay, like I would assume the gameplay could get you through more than the story could, because at the end of the day, it's an interactive medium, so it can be a story-driven medium, but the gameplay in some ways has got to come first. Otherwise, you're going to wonder why it wasn't just a book or a movie.
And 16-bit RPGs get pretty repetitive, so the gameplay better be fairly solid in that area too. So, yeah, good point.
What is your favorite RPG franchise on the Super Nintendo?
On the Super NES would probably have to be Final Fantasy, I would say. Sega Genesis Shining Force series and Phantasy Star. Both of those are excellent. And I'm more of a Sega guy than I am a Nintendo guy, but yeah, I do love my SNES.
That's why I was asking you that, because I knew you were more of a Genesis person like me, but I was just kind of feeling out with it, because Super Nintendo is more known for RPGs. So
yeah, Chrono Trigger was a great SNES RPG, of course. And if you want a physical copy of that original, then yeah, it's crazy right now.
DJ, throw another one at us, sir.
All right, here's a short and sweet one from What is a Super Chat? What is the purpose of a D-pad?
Thanks for that question. What is a Super Chat? Okay, Joel, I want a really scientific explanation of the purpose of the D-pad. Go. Give us a college lecture, Joel.
They're fun, man. And you got to have a good D-pad, man. You're going to play a fighting game? Man, I need a D-pad. So, yeah, I think they're easier, faster, and I don't know. I love D-pads. I would take that over an analog stick any day. That's just me, though.
Okay, but would you for particular arcade
Probably
games,
not for like Doom or something like that. I would want an analog stick, but
yeah. Well, I was going to say there's certain arcade machines that maybe just because it's the way it was originally optimized, you're so used to playing it that way. Like I don't like playing Galaga in any other way but standing at a machine. Like I couldn't play that at my house until I got the arcade 1-up machine because I'm not going to use a thumbstick. I'm not going to use a D-pad. Like I can't deal with that with Galaga.
Pac-Man's hard to play on a D-pad too.
Yeah, you're right about that. It is.
DJ, I think there's a few other pre-written questions that looked interesting. If you'll give us one or two of those.
Here is one from Cinematographic. He says, for all of us, if there is one element of GoldenEye N64 you would want remastered, be it gameplay or graphics, what would you prefer?
Yeah, that's a good one. Probably the death matches were the funnest that I had in GoldenEye. So lots of different ways to play a death match in GoldenEye. That's a classic, a great game that I had to recollect on my 64. Yeah, it's awesome. It's going to be hard to redo just because of the licensing, unfortunately.
Well, and that's being, I mean, that question was probably asked, I don't know if you know this, Joel, but that is finally being put on the Switch Online with the expansion pack with 64. Yeah, and there's been talk about it for months. Like, we had an official...
I did not know that.
Yeah, we had an official announcement about it back in October, November, and then we didn't hear about it for a while, and there was finally a trailer for it like 2 or 3 days ago. And it's not a full-on remaster. They've done a little bit to it. I don't know if they've done any more than they did for, say, like Mario 64 for the 3D All-Stars collection. But it looks good, and I still would love a full-on remaster. But the fact that they did figure out the licensing of that, I guess, means that's theoretically possible in the future.
That's cool, man. That's great.
The main thing now, I wish that they would release it so that you could buy it and not have to just play it online because you don't know how long that will exist, and I don't like that you have to pay extra for the 64 in the Genesis library. I haven't done that yet because there hasn't been a game that's come up there yet that I needed that I didn't own already, so I've not been paying for that. But real quick, Joel, for me, I think the thing I would most like to see updated is just being able to use a second stick. To look around. That's the only modernization I need for GoldenEye is just let me use twin sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, DJ, do you see one more real quick?
Yeah, from Danaverse. Favorite classic video game soundtrack? Final Fantasy is hard to beat, but I've always loved F-Zero music a lot.
Good. F-Zero's great. Favorite soundtrack for me would be Streets of Rage 2.
Hey DJ, do you have a favorite game soundtrack?
I guess my default is Donkey Kong Country. Just because I think that might be the game I played the most as a kid, and it still is in my head.
Yep.
Even though I haven't played it in years now, maybe a decade, but it's still, I don't know, it's just in there, and it won't go away. But I like it a lot.
That's in my top three, easy.
Okay.
And you know, Joel, because I haven't brought this up yet, and we're doing a video game show, and it being half an hour in, it's crazy that I haven't. But I'm the only person that ever says this, so I'm going to. But for fighting games, and this is my favorite fighting game franchise anyway. But I love Virtua Fighter soundtrack, particularly 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great soundtrack. You bet.
Because I know again that you're a Sega guy and that you're into 32X and Saturn and such. What is your favorite Virtua Fighter game? Is it 2 or is there one that beats it out for you?
No, it's 2, definitely. And that could be nostalgia, but it's just the one that I enjoy, and it's kind of one of those comfort food type of games.
Yeah.
Put it in, I know what I'm doing, and it's just fun. Yeah, brings back a lot of good memories too.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my little amusing exercise, so everybody bear with me here. Joel recently did, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, a couple of videos that were a challenge for building a retro game library with only $100. And I thought this was really neat, and I don't remember who set this up originally, but somebody made a video about this, and Joel responded to it, and he did a Genesis one, and he did an NES one, and I didn't feel qualified to do NES. I do have an NES collection, but I felt more qualified to do Genesis. So, Joel, I've done one. I've got it set up. I'm ready to go.
Awesome.
Are you ready? Do you want to see it? I want to see Joel critique my $100 Genesis collection. And Joel, I did the same thing that you did, where I only picked things that I own. So I brought the cartridges out here, and I'm gonna go through this briefly, but and maybe at some point I'll do what you did and make a whole video with this.
You should.
Or I might just make an excerpt of I thought about just doing a video, and then I was like, no, it'll be fun to do this on this show for Joel. So Joel, you'll have to tell me what you think about this. Okay, so the whole idea is you have $100 to build a playable library, and you want to have a little bit of variety in it, so it's not all just one genre. And I used the same resource you did, but I cannot, off the top of my head right now, remember the name of that website.
Price charting.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, pricecharting.com. This is and I guess they're not just video games. They price all kinds of other things.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't realize. Because I looked up. This might give away one of my picks, but I looked up one thing and comics popped up, and I was like, oh, they price for comics? I've never used this for comics, because I'm a giant comic collector, and I was like, I've never used this for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So bear with me, and pardon me for being self-indulgent. I'm going to do this real quick, and then we'll get back to Joel, and I've got lots more interesting things to talk with him about. Okay, so my first... So you did it from least expensive to most expensive, so I'll do that as well. My first pick, and I don't think I have any duplicates from things you said, but I might. I can't remember. I tried not to pick stuff you picked.
I'm trying to remember my list, man.
This may be the one that is also on your list. I cannot remember, but the first one I went for is $4.97. It's Columns.
Yeah.
That's my one puzzle game. Columns is one of my favorite puzzle games, and it holds up wonderfully well. And it's not at all like Tetris, except that that you put shapes in rows. But I always really liked the soundtrack with that game, and just the overall presentation. It has a neat kind of Greek mythology thing going with it. And then the next game I picked is one that I listened to you talk about earlier today in a video, Joel. It's Sonic Spinball, $8.37. And Joel and I share an affinity for pinball, for digital pinball games. And I always liked Spinball, but I was never good at it. I have now reached the 3rd out of 4 stages. I cannot beat this game. I've never done that. And you're gonna tell me you've beaten it, right?
I have not beaten that one, but I've gotten about to the 3rd stage on it. Yeah, to me it's kind of challenging.
It's tough. My wife is way better at that game than I am.
Yeah.
And next up, and I guess this is 2 of the same franchise in a row, but they're 2 different kinds of games. And I could not, if it was affordable, see putting this list together without at least one Sonic game. And you were able to do it with the 6-pack, but I don't have that. And I was trying not to do what you did. So you beat us all with a 6-pack because you got one game with 6 games in it. But here is, of course, Sonic 2. Which is a lot of people's favorite game on the system, and if you only owned one game on the Genesis, I'd say Sonic 2 is the game to own. So, and that is still cart only $10.45.
There you go.
Which was kind of surprising to me. I thought that might be, even though there are a bazillion copies running around, that has not stopped some of these things from going way up in value.
Nope, but thank goodness the Sonic franchise is still pretty reasonable. Absolutely.
I did throw, just because I had space, I did throw one more platformer on my list because platformers really dominated the system, and because I'm a platformer guy before I'm anything with video games. So the next thing I went for is $11.92. It is Tiny Toons Buster's Hidden Treasure.
Great game, yeah.
Which is something of a like a Mario 3 clone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good, and it's a good kind of introductory side scroller for kids. There's a lot of fun to be had there for adults too, but it's not too challenging.
Yeah, it's a good game.
You know, just challenging enough. And then I had to put a fighter on this list for the Genesis. So for $15.27, I went with Fatal Fury 2.
Nice.
I grew up playing that with my dad a lot. That's one of my favorite 2D fighters, and then had to have a beat 'em up, and I did not go for a Streets of Rage because I actually don't own any of those on physical because I didn't grow up with them. I got to that a lot later. But for $21.49, it's Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, there you go.
Heck yeah, man.
Heck yeah.
I forgot I had this in box. The only red cartridge that was ever made for the Genesis, if I'm remembering this correctly.
The only red one that I'm aware of, and they have some of those Maximum Carnages are black cartridges.
I've got them both. I've got a red one and a black one. I found out tonight. Jason was like, "How do you have both?" I don't know where this other cartridge came from, but yes, I have it both ways.
One of the good games by LJN.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The very few.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's very hard. But if you have that 6-button arcade pad or the 3-button even, you know, turn your auto fire on, and it makes it a little easier. That's really a great game to play with the arcade stick. Yeah.
I've never tried that. I've got a MAME machine though. I should do that and do it on an upright because that would be kind of fun. Anyway, and then my last game. So I got 6 in here, I think. I went for something totally different from all that stuff, but probably next to the Sonic games, my favorite game. Or I don't know, in my top 5 anyway on the Genesis. Although it plays a little better on the Super Nintendo, but I like how it looks and sounds a little better on the Genesis. For $23.75, this was my expensive one. It's Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of this game.
Yeah, and that would be my pick on the Sega Genesis. Absolutely. And you got to remember, the Sega Genesis does what the Nintendo don't. So that's a good pick.
Exactly. But I will say it is better with a 6-button controller. So before we got a 6-button controller, the Super Nintendo was the way to play that because your selector buttons are right above your firing buttons, and you kind of need that. A 3-button, it was kind of ridiculous. You had to toggle through with, I don't even remember how you did it. It was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely best played with a 6-button controller. Yeah.
Okay, so, pardon me. So, I could not come up with a $3.50 game to round it out, so I got to $96.22. But what do you think of my $100 Genesis collection?
I think
Joel?
you did great.
Oh, thanks, man.
Heck yeah, man. You had some really good variety in there, and yeah, that shows, you know, there are still a lot of Sega Genesis games if you're into collecting physical, you know, original cartridges. Sega Genesis is pretty cheap. comparable.
Comparatively, yeah.
So,
I wish I'd collected for it real hard like 5 or 6 years ago before it got a lot higher.
Yeah.
But
and especially loose cart. They're really cheap loose cart. So
that is the only system I've ever considered trying to get a complete collection of. But I have the same thing you do, where I'm like, I wouldn't play like 80% of those.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely want games, and that's my whole goal with my room and everything, is to punch a couple of different buttons and be able to grab something off the shelf and play it right away. So, yeah, playability's big.
And that reminds me of this question, Joel, which is, how many total consoles do you think you own?
Oh, man. So you're talking doubles of even?
No, just like
I think I counted
like separate,
separate.
like specific consoles, yeah.
Really?
Unique consoles, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, there you go. Platforms. Let's say that.
There you go.
Probably about probably close to 30. Yeah. And so, if you're looking at somebody's, collection like Metal Jesus, he's going to dwarf mine. But yeah, and I've got 20, I think I counted, last count was 21 different consoles connected and ready to play at any time.
Wow.
So,
to
yeah.
various TVs,
Yeah.
but
Right.
So how many TVs are in your game room? Is it just the 3 behind you, or are there
Yep.
some other ones?
Just the 3 behind me. And yeah, I got in a real bad habit of just collecting, especially, you'd see a lot of CRTs, and you still see them given away on Facebook Marketplace, and man, every time I'd see one. So I've got probably 7 or 8 out in my garage, and yeah, if I get another one, I'm going to have to find a different place to live, I've been told. So
So speaking of that, you probably don't own any arcades then, do you?
I don't. No. I'd love to, but
DJ, do you see any more questions for Joel?
Yes, I still have some right here. I'm not sure what that one means, but I've already asked one from him anyway. J Cinema Arts 87 has a question. Was there a movie, a TV series that you guys think would have made a good video game but never got one?
yeah. That's a good question.
Retroactively, I would love to see 24, the 2D side-scrolling run and gun with puzzle elements.
Oh man, I don't know. Let's go back. I don't know. I don't think there's ever been a game made out of the A-Team. So there you go.
Dude, I don't know. I knew you were gonna say A-Team. I saw that coming from a mile away. What kind of game is that? Is that a beat 'em up? It's probably a beat 'em up.
It's got to be a beat 'em up. Yeah, there might be some driving levels in there with the van.
Yeah.
And some gunplay, and then of course no violence. I mean the helicopter would explode and people would run out of the helicopter like they survived it. Yeah, that's.
But no, that'd be a good cast of characters to be able to pick between.
Yeah,
You
that'd
can
be awesome.
You can be Mr.
BA
T.
would be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought of one.
Yeah.
I would love a game set in the universe of the new Planet of the Apes trilogy. I think there's a lot of stories you could tell in that universe, and it would be a really cool dystopian world that I would like to run around in. Maybe an open world type thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anything.
that should be
That'd
more
cool.
of a modern open world kind of thing.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's like a Fallout type game or an Arkham kind of thing.
Yeah.
Dad Racer, did they ever make the Neverending Story into a game? Shockingly, no, I don't think.
That's
And
another great one.
You'd have thought we would have had that, considering some other kind of smaller. And that's not exactly a B movie, but that's not a huge movie. Like Last Starfighter got a game on the NES. Like you'd think that would have a game.
Yeah. Shout out to Dad Racer too. By the way, he's in the retro trading group that I belong to. So. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, talk about
I
that a
thought
little
he
bit
might have come
because
along with you.
because I was hoping that you would. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for being here. Anybody that regularly watches Joel and is seeing us for the first time, hi there. Joel, would you talk a little bit about more about how you procure some of your collection currently, and advice that you would have for people that want to collect modern but are or want to collect retro now but are scared off because of price gouging?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. So I would, we all kind of met through YouTube, and that's really what I've enjoyed the most about YouTube, is finding other people that have the same interests as me. And so we kind of bonded. We have small channels, all of us, and we put together a trade group. And we started adding people as we got to know them. You know, we had to know them. We had to feel good with them, had to trust them. And my Atari Jaguar, a lot of my games I would not have if I wasn't in that trade group. And so we keep a big spreadsheet, and we put out there what we want to trade, put out there what we're looking for. And that's a huge, huge way to collect games without breaking the bank. If you can find a group of guys that you trust and that you enjoy being around, and we have a Discord page, and it's just a lot of fun. So it's not only the trading, but our group's called the Retro Collective, and man, we have a good time. It's awesome. So there's a lot of good games that I have in my library that I wouldn't have if I didn't belong to the trade group. So.
Well, I feel like one of the keys right now in being able to continue collecting retro games is trading, as opposed to just spending cold hard cash.
Absolutely, man. You try to fill your shelves off of eBay. It's expensive. So yeah, absolutely.
And you'll find decent deals here and there on Facebook Marketplace. That's the first place I would go if you're looking for ways to buy and trade with people locally. I've gotten some great stuff that way, comics and video games and otherwise. Like half of my arcade one-ups I got that way, and at pretty decent prices. But I bought my Game Gear on Marketplace, and I got a really nice looking one with almost no scratches or anything, and I think I paid $100 for it with a couple of games, so I felt good about that.
Yeah, and I live in a really small town, so Craigslist doesn't really do me a lot of good. But
fair enough. Yeah,
a lot of guys have really had success on Craigslist as well. So just you kind of got to know and just kind of know the prices, check them out, and see what they're going for, and before you jump in. So yeah.
DJ, are we having a massive lag like we did the other day again? Because I'm seeing people just now talking about the Planet of the Apes thing.
No, that's just me, Robert Wild talking to me in the chat about it. We've been talking for a little bit. And he's responding pretty quickly, so I don't think we have a lag.
Okay, that's good to know. Because I've been paranoid about it ever since Tuesday, because we had like a 3-minute lag where we'd say it felt like we were in a time vortex.
No, I just keep thinking of movies that I want to be games. This could be a top 10 video we should do, Cap.
We should, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of good stuff. All right, shall we roll on?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Daniverse. I think this is not necessarily video game related, but he says, if you can't sleep, what do you do? Sometimes I try to get a screen to make me tired or read a book, but boy, it can be hard in that situation. So he gets a screen. So apparently, do you play video games to try to make yourself tired? I think isn't that the opposite of what they tell you to do?
Yeah.
Screens keep you up.
That would keep your brain too active.
Yeah.
Reading or watching TV usually does me in, which sucks because I'm trying to get myself better at not falling asleep when I do those things. But
yeah, you don't want to train yourself to do that, and then every time you try to watch something, you fall asleep.
Joel, let's get deeply personal. Do you have problems with insomnia?
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I do, and I.
What do you do when you have insomnia? Do you play Doom? Do you watch other people on YouTube play Doom?
You know what's been therapeutic lately is I'll turn on a YouTube channel and watch somebody building a computer, and it just puts me to sleep.
Boy, that would put me right to sleep as well, I think.
Too, yeah.
Joel, how tech savvy would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, would you say you are?
I'm fairly tech savvy, probably 7-ish.
Do you like build
Depends on if
computers and
it's
that kind of
old
thing?
tech or new tech. That's the thing. Now, if you're, I am a little Skype challenged, as you found out earlier, but yeah.
So this is neither here nor there. I meant to ask you this earlier when we were talking about old machines, and you were talking about your old Windows machines. Were you ever a Mac guy?
Never.
See, I grew up mostly with Macs.
I would look at them and I would, I thought, like the iMac was cool looking, but anytime I'd look to see what kind of software they had as far as gaming, because that was my whole purpose of owning a PC, was gaming on it, and it just wasn't available like it was for the PC, unfortunately.
No, it was shocking when they would put out something that you wanted that was on both things. And
right.
I was never a computer gamer anyway. I was almost exclusively console. But there were a couple things I always wanted to play on computer that I couldn't because we had Macs. And so, like, do you remember Star Trek Elite Force? Which was it was made on the Quake engine. And it was based on Voyager. And then they did a sequel that expanded beyond that and wasn't just Voyager, but a lot of other characters in Star Trek, also TNG stuff. And anyway, for some reason, that game was on Mac. I don't think the first Elite Force was, but the second one, I don't know why.
That's cool, man. I've heard of that game. I don't have any personal experience with it, but yeah, that's weird.
And that was ported to PS2, which is strange. I have not. It's clunky with a controller. It played better with the keyboard, but anyway, I digress. As per usual, DJ, what else do you see, sir?
I've got a question from Danaverse. Have you ever tried any of the so-called worst consoles ever? And if so, which of them lived up to the terrible hype?
Oh, you own some of those.
Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of bad consoles and bad games that I own and that I actually enjoy playing. So, the Atari Jaguar would be the famous one, of course. And, it's got its shortcomings, absolutely. It doesn't have a very big library. But to me, if there's at least 10 good games on a console, that console is worth collecting for. So, man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a console that I really just don't like.
I mean, I have whole consoles that I own only to play 5 or 6 games in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever, I'm sure you don't own one, but did you ever get your hands on a Virtual Boy?
No.
Like, have you ever played one?
No.
I haven't.
I've been kind of afraid to ever try one, even if I had a chance. You hear about all the headaches and
that's a good point.
No, that's one that I've never had any interest in. Yeah.
I want one just to have it.
It looks cool if you have one on the shelf, but yeah, I wouldn't play it, so yeah, I just haven't been that interested in it. So
DJ Jason wants a Virtual Boy so bad.
Does he?
Yeah, so Joel, I've got a 12-year-old who is doesn't just like playing video games, actually does maybe less of that than researching them, and he's a fountain of information.
Yep.
Jason's got his own channel talking about video game secrets. Quick plug for that again. And he is constantly looking up stuff, and it's ridiculous what he knows. And he's gotten into the retro collecting thing also. He just recently got and this doesn't actually do anything with the system, but there was this somewhat rare photo camera that was branded Nintendo 64. I don't know if you've ever seen it. That you could get out of a cereal box. It was like a send in postage and get from a cereal box. And he almost pulled the trigger on one. He just wanted to have it because he thought it was cool.
Sure.
And it's a film camera, and he wanted to. He almost pulled the trigger on it like a year ago. And my dad is in the junk business. He runs a flea market, and he found one.
Awesome.
And sends me a message one day and is like, hey, would you have any interest in this? He didn't even know Jason had almost bought one. I was like, Jason almost bought that. You've got to give him that for Christmas. So that's what he got for Christmas. But
That is so cool. Yeah, I saw Jason on your one of your live streams talking
Oh, yeah, I
about the
forgot you watched that.
Sega Genesis Mini, and man, he knows his stuff. Yeah, you bet. That's awesome. It's so cool to see younger people enjoying retro games. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I didn't mean to just brag about my kid, but I
No,
I can't
I'd
get my
be
mind
bragging
around what
about
he knows sometimes. And he wanted to be on this show for this, but he had to
Oh,
eat dinner, and yeah. So
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, that kid knows his stuff, man.
DJ, do you see anything else, or should I go to some stuff I wanted to talk about?
I've got one more. If you want me to go and shoot
Absolutely.
it. From Jareth Gearhart. What is the most expensive game you both own?
I'm not 100% sure on my end because I have not price checked a lot of things in a long time. So I'll let Joel go first.
I think probably the complete in box Attack of the Mutant. Yeah, I don't know if that one is actually. I'm gonna say Shining Force 2 complete in box. That's probably. I think it's around $200, but I don't have a lot of super expensive games. You know.
I think I've got at least a couple of things that hit about the $100 mark, but I don't know if I go beyond that. And Joel, stuff that it wasn't that long ago that they were just like $20, $30, $40 games.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like
Yep.
I did a series on the channel. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary of this year called Spawn Year, and I was reviewing 365 days of Spawn reviews, mostly comics, but I also did all the video games. And so I reviewed the game on the Dreamcast, and which is Spawn in the Demon's Hand, which is a really fun melee fighter, and it's 4-player.
Nice.
And that game, so I owned it at that time and popped it out to review it, and the disc was missing, so I had to buy another one. And I think I only paid like maybe 30, if that.
Wow.
That is a $100 game now.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. What gets annoying is there's common games that have went up in price, and they're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But,
just artificial
yeah.
inflation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a toss-up between Shining Force 2 and then Attack of the Mutant Penguins. So for the Atari Jaguar, that's probably the weirdest game I have. Might be the most expensive one.
Yeah, the only reason I've heard of that is also because of AVGN.
AVGN. You bet.
Have you spent much time actually trying to play it? Because that game seemed baffling in its mechanics. Is it as baffling as he makes it sound?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, okay.
I actually had a video that I was getting ready to put out on it, and it just took so long to just describe what you have to do. And man, I kept fighting that, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, some other time. But it's the first tower defense game I ever played, and
Oh, okay.
it's crazy, man. When you explain all the rules and how everything works, it's nuts. Yeah.
You should attempt to make that video at some point, though, because I'd like to see that broken down more.
I need to. Yeah.
I'm sure somebody else has done it, but you should do it.
I need to.
Okay, guys, we are right at about the hour mark, and we just got another super chat, so we'll start with that after the break. We're going to take a 3-minute break, and everybody try to be right back here in 3 minutes, because that's when the music will stop playing, and I'll see everybody in just a little bit. Joel, thanks again for joining us, and I hope everybody's having a good time. We will see you again in just 3 minutes. And we're back, folks. Hey, real quick, everybody. I completely forgot to bring this up at the beginning of the show, but right after tonight's broadcast, I'm going to be doing another Geekvolution After Dark, which we haven't done in a little while, with Brandon and Austin. So come in for that. We'll be starting around 10 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock my time. So I hope you'll pop in for that. We'll be talking about all kinds of random things we don't usually talk about on the channel, and it can sometimes get a little racy. There's language. It gets a little adult in there. Come hang out with us and check it out. And right now, without further ado, look, everybody, it's my son, Jason.
Yeah.
Hello.
Jason was
awesome.
upstairs watching the show, and I was like, "Oh, hey, maybe you should come down." Okay, this is not gonna work.
What's not gonna work?
Oh wait, yes, it is. I didn't think it had an aux. Okay.
Yeah. This is
Plug.
just the
We just have
USB
choices.
The USB is for if you want it to light up.
Oh, is that all it does?
Yeah, that's all it does. But
Okay.
it's really cool.
Jason, Joel, Jason.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah.
He watched our Mini 2 or Sega Mini 2 stream
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
the other day.
absolutely. I'm a big fan, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nobody else watched
Cool
that
to
stream,
see
so we
that.
really appreciate you checking that out.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, my game content doesn't do big guns, but I like making it, so I do it anyway. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go ahead, DJ, and tackle the couple of super chats that have popped up if we can.
All right, we got one from Utale. Joel, you looking forward to the Super Mario Bros. Movie?
I am actually. Yeah. I mean, the stuff I've seen looks like it could be a fun movie, and I enjoyed the latest couple of Sonic movies. I like those, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Jason is kind of obsessively looking forward to that movie, I think.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Because it actually looks like a video game movie.
Yep.
And like, really nothing else has. So.
It's man, tough to find a good
I
movie
feel
that's
like
been made from a video game. Yeah.
Nothing has since like Mortal Kombat.
No.
Well, no, Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. Yeah.
Everybody needs to stop it with this no good video game movie thing has been made thing. Tomb Raider was quite good.
Yeah, Tomb Raider is great.
Was it Batman Begins with Lara Croft? Yes, and that's why it was good.
Yeah. Oh man, they should make a Portal movie.
What would that be?
Well, it would just be a lot of
You could
it would just be a lot of radio music.
They put out a film that's called Orange Box.
Yeah.
Xbox.
I want an Xbox movie called Red Ring of Death.
Yeah. That'd
Joel,
be great.
Joel, do you own a
Be a pretty short
360?
movie. Oh yeah, I have a couple of them. You bet.
What models do you have? Like, do you have that first model that has not red ringed? Just out of curiosity.
No, I had the first model, and it played great. And this was just a few years ago. I got it. Actually, I got that one from GameStop, and it was one of the original ones because it didn't have the HDMI port in the back. So, and it red ringed on me about a year after I got it. So.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of the more modern 360s that work great.
We've had
That was a
ours for
thing.
like 10 years.
Longer than that. So I have one that I bought. I actually worked at GameStop back in the day, and I bought one when I was working there because I was a retro gamer then and wasn't playing anything modern. So I felt like I needed to play some stuff so I could talk to customers. So I bought a 360, and I went through the same rigmarole a lot of people went through. Right? Like I bought one, it red, and these were supposed to be refurbished. You bring them home immediately, they'd red ring, right?
Yep.
Joel, within 24 hours, I brought them back 3 of them. And the fourth one I brought home and it worked fine and still works now.
Oh,
It's
cool.
a Model 1. I bought it in 09. It still functions just fine. It's shocking.
Very cool, man. Yeah. But you're on borrowed time, man.
10% of them never have that problem. And I don't know if that's true, but I hope it is, because maybe mine will never die.
I heard that and started believing it, and then, bam.
Do you remember when I said earlier that, and I didn't mean to be horribly negative, by the way, when I said this, but remember earlier when I said that people are going to feel really sad when some of this stuff starts dying in 2045? Yeah. I'm gonna call you up in 2045.
Do it.
And my Xbox 360 Model 1 is still going to be working, and I told you so. He's going to be like, no, you're on borrowed time, man. It's going to die tomorrow.
Could happen tomorrow.
DJ,
the super chats are pouring in.
Yes, they are. We have one from T Edge 1. Sorry, T Edge 1. He says, "When's the next After Dark?"
Oh, tonight. I just announced it.
Yeah, that one came in over the break.
It's in an hour and 25 minutes, Tom.
But he has more. It is a $5 super chat. He said, "What's the worst case of false advertising for a game that you've played? And what's your favorite special edition / custom game console?"
Special edition / custom. Well, there's been a lot of really good looking Switch OLEDs, and just normal Switches as well, that just look really cool. I don't own any of them, but I just have a normal Switch, but I think they look really cool. Specifically the new Pokemon one, I think looks really cool. And then I like all the different colors of
Is this your way of asking for that for your birthday?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I don't want that.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
But yeah, and then I like all the different colors of 64s. And specifically the Hey You Pikachu 64 I just think is really funny.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, that's my answer for that second question. I can't think of anything for the first question.
Joel, can you think of false advertising?
False advertising?
Oh, I actually can.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead real quick.
Go, man.
I have this. So I haven't really brought this up on the channel at all, but I have this like cool corner. What I call it my cool corner, and it's like the shelf that I put a bunch of like my like cool things on. Like the coolest things
it's in the
that
name.
I own. And
thanks for explaining that, Jason. We appreciate it, buddy.
But yeah, basically one of the things on that is this ad for the NES from just like the back of a comic page of like a Wolverine comic or something, and it's really funny. It's got like 4 pictures of games, and it's got a picture of Castlevania, which under it says Legend of Zelda 2. And then it has a picture of Mario 1 and says Super Mario Brothers 2. And then under that it has Zelda 2, and underneath that it says Simon's Quest. And then it has, but the only game they got right was Blades of Steel. And like I've never played that game.
Because a lot of people have never heard of that.
Yeah.
Blades of Steel is great, man. That's a great hockey game on the NES.
They've just got, Blades of Steel was the only thing they got right.
The only reason they got that right was because at that time there probably wasn't any other hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
It doesn't really sound like any other, Blades of Steel doesn't really sound like a hockey game, though. It sounds like a beat 'em up or something. Like
I think that's
there's fighting in it. Yeah, there's fighting in it.
I don't think that's false advertising. I think that's typos.
Mistakes.
It's still false advertising because that's not what that is.
Well, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I remember watching videos on how great Fable was going to be when it was released, and it didn't live up to half the promises. And I think that's happened in a lot of modern games. They'll show trailers, and then the game comes out, and it's nowhere close to the trailer. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
Cyberpunk thing, and
yeah. There you go. Yep.
Oh, and a really obvious one is Batman on Genesis, because the back of it has NES gameplay, and then you play
Oh.
it, and it's like it looks terrible.
Somehow
and-
it doesn't even look as good as it did in 8-bit, and it plays worse.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't. It's Return of the Joker, is it not? Or is it Batman on Genesis?
No, it's Batman NES
Okay.
on Genesis. That has that type on the back.
Okay, because Return of the Joker didn't have that, but it had the thing where you want to play it on an NES.
Yeah.
You'd think that it was that it would be improved in some way on the Genesis, but it was
Yeah.
not.
No, it wasn't. And the Jaguar kind of was was that way too. There would be a lot of games, and you would think coming from the NES to the Jaguar be a huge step up, and it didn't always turn out that way. So yeah, several cases of that as well.
The first thing that comes to my mind just real quick, and I've talked about this before, is I'm trying to think of a better example, but I'm thinking of like villains in Arkham games that we pretended like were going to be a bigger deal than they were. Like Two-Face was advertised really hard from Arkham City, and you deal with him in the first 30 minutes of that game, and then hardly ever again. And then we acted like Black Mask was going to be the main bad guy of Origins. And that's not really what happened with that either. No. Because it's just, spoiler alert, it's just a Joker thing again. And it's the Joker Batman origin.
Then I don't want to play it.
And somehow that whole dynamic is born within like 7 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Joel, do you have any Virtual Boy stuff?
We were just talking.
No, I don't, man. Yeah, I haven't got into that. But I hear you're looking for it.
I wasn't kidding. So. He really wants that.
Yeah.
No, it's
that's
fine.
Cool, man.
No, I just thought, since you keep, you have like Jaguar stuff, and that was the first thing that I thought of was like, oh man, what about Virtual Boy?
No, and I've never played one. I don't remember ever even seeing one of them. So.
Oh, but he did just recently get his hands on a PC Engine.
Ooh.
Yes.
Like.
PC Engine
Japanese
Duo.
PC Engine? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been very cool.
How many games do you have for that?
So you want legitimate games or backups?
Oh, yeah, because you were talking about how you have a lot of backups. Yeah, how many physical cartridges do you have for that?
I've got, for the PC Engine itself, 2 physical cartridges, actually 3. R-Type 1 and R-Type 2. So when it came out on the PC Engine, they actually broke it up into 2 games. When it came out on the TurboGrafx 16, it was the full game on the cart. There's a CD you can get that has the full one on that. But
it's like a laser
they didn't have
disc
a lot of.
Where you gotta like switch them out.
They didn't have any security protection for CDs, and it plays CD games. So
yeah.
You can find the ROMs, burn them to a CD if you do it right, and play the games.
Jason, there were a lot of RPGs like that
awesome.
that would come in multiple discs, because especially for PC, but you even had that with, I think PS1 and PS2 both had games that did that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It was just like trying to watch Titanic on VHS.
Yep. It would. Yeah. There's a lot of games on the PlayStation 1 that had multiple discs. It was using a CD format, so. A lot of the role-playing games, you'd hit a certain spot and it'd say insert disc 2. So, yeah.
And a lot of games on floppies that did that.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Yeah, I think Doom was on, 7 or 8 floppies or something like that.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, yeah.
DJ, would you take us back to the Super Chat, sir?
All right. I'm going to take you right back to T-Edge 1.
Hi, Tom.
He has one specifically for Jason.
Does he want to know?
I saw this. Yes.
Does he want to know when the next After Dark is after the one we're doing tonight?
Also, the answer is yes, Tom.
He wants to know, what are Jason's feelings on Ash leaving Pokemon?
Yeah,
Your answer is yes.
I am disappointed. I thought the question is, are you disappointed about Ash leaving?
What are your feelings? Yes.
Yes.
He's pumped about it.
Yeah. Wait, how do you feel about that?
I grew up with Pokemon. That was like the main show that I watched when I was like 7 or 8. and I don't know, he was the main character, so yeah, I am a little disappointed.
But that's the problem is when I grew up, I grew up watching Pokemon and he was the main character. And I am like probably 3 times as old as you.
Well,
He's
yeah,
been around forever, man. It's crazy.
but yeah, I watched the first season, and then I also grew up with XY, which was the show that was on at the time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get why people have feelings about that. I don't have a dog in that fight because I didn't really grow up with Pokemon, but I think it's important to note that Ash isn't a superhero. So it's
Also,
not like
Ash
it's not
is
like it's not like Batman or Spider-Man where you're
Yeah.
passing down a mantle. Like Pokemon Trainer is not his superhero name. You can have lots of those.
Yeah. But
But I get just writing him out is maybe kind of weird. Like, is there some reason you couldn't bring him back when you want to? I don't understand retiring a character in a cartoon show.
Yeah.
Unless you kill him, but it's Pokemon, so I wouldn't think that would happen. What if he somehow transformed into a Pokemon and got sucked into a Pokeball? What if that's what
man.
they did with
Oh,
him?
I mean, that does
Tell
happen.
me that's too weird for Pokemon.
That does happen.
There you
And
go.
he dies
There you
like
go.
multiple times in
There
the
you go.
show. But he comes back to life every time.
I
There
knew
you go.
such things were possible.
Yeah, he turns into in XY. He turns into a Pokemon. It's Ash Greninja, and he has like multiple personality disorder, and like it's really weird.
See,
Wow.
I
See, in
knew
my-
it.
in
In
my mind-
Japan, all things are possible.
In my mind, Ash left Pokemon after like season 3 when I left Pokemon.
If
DJ's over here like, why are we even talking about
they
this? Who cares?
replace Ash with like another character that was already in the show, like Serena or something, then I'd be like, okay, you know. But if it's a completely new character that we've never seen before, then
Just to update and
why?
modernize, like we do with so many
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
That's what I would like. I'd be happy with like Serena or whatever, like whoever, like being or even I don't know any like new Pokemon characters, but anyone from the actual anime being the main character. I don't really care about that. But just an entirely new cast. Like, the whole thing about Pokemon is it was a new cast every time except for the one character.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
DJ, it's sort of like when I have feelings about things I'll hear about in current Power Rangers, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not watching that. Why do I care about what's happening in Neo Saban or Hasbro Power Rangers? I'm not actually actively watching that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you have feelings, Cap. I can't help you there. I'm not your therapist.
Shut up, DJ. Hey, DJ, ask me what my feelings are.
What are your feelings?
Yes.
There we go.
Those are all of my feelings. Okay, can we move on?
We shall. We shall move on
Please.
from Ash. Are you ready to move on from Ash,
Yes.
Jason?
Yes,
Okay.
I have said my part.
Okay. You seem pretty broken up about it.
No! Not at
Goofster. Goofster123, $10 super chat. Any thoughts on The Last of Us? Probably the best video game adaptation as of yet, in that it stays true to the game while using the advantages of the television medium to enhance the story from the game.
Have you watched it yet, Joel?
No.
Do you own
No.
a television?
I have one or two laying around, but
Have you ever watched a TV show, Joel?
Those are
Besides
the
the
video games that you
A-Team?
can't play.
It's The Sopranos. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any intention of watching
I
that,
haven't-
Joel?
I haven't watched that, but I've heard good things about it. So, and that would be that's a good game. You know, when you're playing it, it has movie quality to it. I mean, it's good. So, yeah.
I am 40 minutes in. I haven't finished the pilot yet, but I will try to do a how I felt about that. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, And I got real curious because I kept hearing good things. And then Austin had to remind me once again that I'm a closeted zombie fan. He was like, no, Cap, you have to watch that. You'll probably like it. You like zombies, even though you don't think you like zombies. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to watch Last of Us. And I'm real impressed with it so far. But
Cool.
I'll try to talk about it later in the week or next week sometime. Because I wanted to give out the perspective of a person that has not played that game. And see how it holds up on its own as just a piece of media for the masses. If I don't like things that are just supplementary material, where it's just for fans of a thing but is an adaptation of the initial story. And I'm with you, Joel. It's precisely the right kind of thing to adapt, because I've said this before, but I don't like the idea that just because it's in a visual medium, if it's a video game, it can't be adapted because you're just telling the same story again. But there's a lot of people that are not going to put in the 20, 30 hours of gameplay that it would take to appreciate that story. So I'm not saying video games should never be narrative driven, but if there are valid reasons to adapt a comic book to a film or a television show, video games are no different just because it's moving and there's voiceover. Like there's still very much good reason to adapt that. And we can argue about whether the story should be exactly the same, but present that to people that are not otherwise going to consume it because they don't play video games.
Yep.
All right, we got another one from Utale. He
That was
says,
speech.
Joel.
My apologies. Okay, go ahead.
Are you off your soapbox? Can I move on?
You know, the only reason I'm always sitting on a soapbox is because I'm short.
Hey, I'm right there with you, man.
You never tell how tall people are in camera. The first time I saw you on camera, I was like, that guy's probably really large.
5'6.5", and I will keep that half. That's
Oh my God,
5'6"
you've got me by a half, friend.
Yes.
God, 5'6"ers unite.
Somebody I'm taller than.
Yeah, I never find men that are my height. You and I have so much in common, Joel. That's a weird thing to be excited about. Let's move on. Go ahead, DJ.
You want to be friends with me? I'm not 5'6". Can we still be friends?
No.
I don't know.
No, you're just the help, dude. I've told you. I've explained this to you.
Okay. Sorry. I know my place. Mutale wants to know, Joel, what's the worst retro game you have played?
Oh, man. I could get in trouble for this, but one of the most hated games that I have that some people like, it's pretty divisive.
Street Fighter 2010.
Give me a drum roll, Jason. Give me a drum roll here.
Simon's
terrible
Quest is
drum
one
roll.
of the games that I just don't think is a good game.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Simon's Quest. And I am a huge Castlevania fan. Not a great game. But I'll tell you, it is playable. Checkered Flag for the Atari Jaguar is probably the worst game I own.
The worst game that comes to mind for me that I've ever played is either Atari Bowling or Ghostbusters on NES. Cause like it's playable, but only to a certain degree, and then you just get lost, and it's like, what? Why am I playing as the logo? What? Where am I supposed to find these certain pieces or whatever to move on? Why?
Yep.
Why do I have to move on?
That's a good call. Yeah.
I should have just let you host this show in the first place. I think now would be.
I think he's stolen the show, man.
He has. Joel, I think now would be a good time for an exercise I was going to do at some point during the show. And we're going to put Joel on the spot here. Are you ready, Joel?
No.
I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I bring up these categories. Now, you don't have to throw what you think is the best or your favorite. Just the thing. Think of this more as the mood you're in right now. I'm going to throw a game genre at you. So imagine, if you will, close your eyes. Imagine that the two of us or the three of us, the four of us, we'll invite DJ too, I guess, even though he's the help. And
He's tall. He's too tall.
We're all sitting. Yeah, we're not all going to fit. DJ is too tall. That doesn't make sense. We're all sitting on a couch together, Joel, and we're going to play a video game. And I want you to tell me which of these each of these genres, what game would you like to play most?
Oh, goodness.
Right now. Are you ready?
All right.
All right, so we're going to play a 2D platformer. What 2D platformer, Joel, do you, off the top of your head, choose for us to play right now?
Super Mario Brothers 3.
I knew he was going to say that.
That's a good 2D
I knew he was going to say that. Joel has the incorrect opinion that Mario 3 is better than Mario World, and he's just wrong about it.
No, the
It's-
best 2D
it's true.
platformer is actually Bubsy 2.
No, we're not talking about best 2D platformer. We're just talking about... Did you see the look on his face when you said that?
No, that game sucks.
It does.
Joel's got the obligatory Mario 3 poster on
Yeah.
his wall. In his group on Facebook, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I guess all of us retro gamers just have to have that on our wall." We do not have that poster on our wall. I felt remiss.
It's a requirement.
We are fake fans.
Oh man, oh no, I gotta go get me a Mario 3 poster.
We've got a Sonic Mania poster, but not a Mario.
Does
3.
that
That's pretty good. Man. Yeah, I'm gonna count that. You bet. Sega.
We have like a, whatever it's called, like
I don't know what this means. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
you know that poster that we have of all the game controllers?
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah, the periodic table of game controllers.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that one's fun. Okay, anyway, moving right along. Joel, this is supposed to be rapid fire. Joel, we're going to play a racing game. What racing game are we going to play?
Ridge Racer on the PS1.
Wow.
You know, I've still never played that.
You
Oh,
know what I would
love
play?
it.
Crash Tag Team Race Nig.
So you're just here to bring up the typos? Is that...
Well, I didn't realize that, but all I have done is bring up typos. I've brought up the
You ever thought
Batman
of-
thing, I've brought up the Race Nig thing.
He might be a stand-up when he grows up, man.
Yeah, I think he'd be pretty
Yeah.
decent at that.
Might have a career in that.
Joel, PS1 is a huge blind spot for me.
I love my PS1, man. A lot of good memories there.
Were you
And-
buying for that as it was coming out?
Yeah, I got it on launch, and I got Ridge Racer and a few other games, but Ridge Racer was, man, arcade sound. It was awesome. And of course, they made several other Ridge Racer games, but that one's really nostalgic to me. So yeah.
Dad, you know what my favorite racing game is?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Cruisin' Blast.
Oh my God.
Cruise
He's been playing so much Cruisin' Blast on the Switch. Okay, Joel, we're gonna play a puzzle game. What puzzle game do you pick?
Got to go Tetris on the Game Boy.
On the Game Boy. Wow.
Yep.
I was gonna ask you what specifically your favorite version of the
OG.
game was.
Yeah.
My favorite
Yep.
version is the Tetris and Dr. Mario version.
On
Yeah.
the Super
SNES,
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Pick a 2D fighter, Joel.
2D Fighter. Super Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition on the Sega Genesis.
You have to be real specific if you ever bring up Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Because there's only 119 versions of that game.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few more, Joel. Pick a run and gun.
That'd be Super C on the NES.
I knew it would be a country game.
I've
Yeah.
seen 10 or a dozen of your videos, and I've been able to call like 80% of this. Pick a, well, should I even say FPS? You're just gonna say Doom.
Yep. And I'm going to say Doom on the Atari Jaguar. That's right.
Is that the definitive version of that game?
It was one of the better home ports until the PS1 came out with their version of Doom, and then all bets were off,
I've heard
man.
the Sega CD version's good, right?
The 32X version is pretty much the Atari Jaguar version, but you're playing in a window. Not full screen.
Yeah,
Now
and the 32X version is notorious for terrible sound.
Yeah,
I think.
I turn the music off. I can't take it if I play that version. And there's a few other things like no monster infighting. You would never sneak up on a monster, and on the Jaguar you would. So
Oh.
there's some there's some
I've
cool
never
things
played
about the
Doom,
Jaguar
so I
versions.
don't know what you're talking about, but cool.
I'm a fake gamer.
Man.
I've never played Doom either. I was a Quake guy. I never played Doom.
You're not.
Yeah, I'm a-
You're not a fake gamer. That's
Yeah,
that's all
I'm a
correct.
Quake guy as well.
Quake's awesome. Yeah.
I've played more Quake games than him.
There you go, man. That's cool.
Joel, I really require that validation, so I appreciate that. Throw us an RPG of any type, Joel.
Oh man, Final Fantasy VII on the PS1.
I would
that's a
say,
great
I
game.
know Dad would say Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
I love Bowser's Inside Story, dude.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I would say probably Pokemon Moon. Because
Okay.
I grew up on that game.
And finally, Joel, pick a space shooter of any kind.
Oh man, so going
Top
old
down,
school,
side to side, doesn't matter.
I'm gonna blow your mind. Space Invaders on the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
Really? Of anything else, that's what you. Wow. Okay.
That was one of the first games I played on my 2600. So
My son
Yeah.
Freddie loves Space Invaders, and I was never
I
into
love
that. We bought the arcade one up cabinet just because Freddie
oh,
likes that
nice.
game. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, DJ, I've stalled for time long enough, and we've got 25 minutes left in the show if we go for a full 2 hours. Do you see more questions, sir? Or is it wrapping up?
It is. I'm tapped out as of right now. Oh, one literally just came in. Mutale. Joel, have you seen the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie?
I have not.
And your
Sorry.
brain thanks you.
Glowing
Yeah,
recommendation from
I
Cap.
haven't.
Don't do that. That movie's awful.
All right, man. I'll take your word
I
for
think
it.
that movie's awful.
AMC Comics just put in a question in the chat for Joel. Right there with you on the PS1. Did you have the official LCD screen for the PS1? Loved that attachment.
I did at one time. I had that LCD screen. It was strange because you always had to have your PS1 plugged in, but I finally did get a car port adapter for it. But he's talking about the small PS1, and
Yeah,
it
it
had a
just folds
little
up.
LCD screen. Yeah, it flipped up, and you had your stereo speakers on the side of that thing. And
Did you know about
That
that?
Yeah,
was-
it's like it was
I
like
think I had one of
the
those too.
Switch before
It's
the
great.
Switch.
That's crazy.
It was
Yeah.
really cool, yeah.
yeah,
I think the
Yeah, it's-
GameCube
it's good.
had like a third party type thing for that as well. In the 2000s.
So they basically would turn
I
into
think-
something akin
yeah.
to a portable DVD player.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Weird.
I did have it. That screen was awesome too. Games looked great on it. Yeah.
Do you have any? This is a random question, but do you have any GBA video cartridges?
GVA video cartridges? I do not.
That was a great question. Hey,
Video.
hey, Jason.
Yes.
It looks like we're gonna wrap up here in a few minutes, and I was gonna try to have you ask Joel some interesting questions that only you would come up with because of your vast knowledge of retro games. But you ended up being on the show, so you didn't type any. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. You got to think of at least one or two like really creative, interesting questions
already
for
have
Joel for
one.
us. Okay. Oh, good. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, Joel.
He's right
Do
there.
you have any intentions of getting a like one like rare game for a specific console? And what would it be? If you
Like Holy
if you-
Grails?
You mean like if he was gonna drop $300, $400, $500 on
Yeah.
something?
on
Yeah.
one game, what would it be?
That's an excellent question, and nothing really comes to mind right now, other than maybe a big box version of Doom 2 for the PC. That would be cool, and that's not unreasonable. It's a little over $100. It's not something that I would spend often, but yeah, it's doable.
I would
I'm
definitely
just
get
in a PC. I'm in like a retro PC mode right now, so
Yeah.
I have different modes that I get into, different yeah.
I would definitely get Clay Fighter Sculptor Cut.
Oh, there you go.
I
There you
think
go.
it's funny that that's the rarest 64 game because it's Clay Fighter.
There is a sealed copy of that out there somewhere that was on a site for like $35,000 or something crazy. Like
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joel, real quick, what do you think? We're just asking a million and one things. What do you think is the best game on the Saturn?
Man, I love 2D fighters on
And
the
why
Saturn.
is it Nights into Dreams? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's a good one, man. That's a really good one. But I would go with the Street Fighter 2 collection on the Saturn. I love that game. And it actually there's several good games on the Saturn, really.
I've almost bought that a few times.
Duke Nukem 3D isn't bad on the Saturn. Mech Warrior 2 is not bad on the Saturn. So, but yes, Super Street Fighter 2 on the Saturn is awesome. Just awesome.
Joel, I don't know if you're aware of just how giant of a Knights fan I am.
Oh, okay.
But I have a huge Knights tattoo.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool, man.
Anyway, okay, DJ, what else do you see, man? Looks like there's maybe one more super chat.
Yes, we just got a super chat from Itale. Joel, any games you're looking forward to this year?
Nope, not really. Sorry.
Yeah, is there any retro stuff that's being like maybe re-released or that we're getting a big like decades later sequel to or something?
Man, I wish I'd have been a little more prepared on stuff like that. And I just have not been paying attention to
no
anything
worries,
that's
man.
coming out new. Yeah. But I found that interesting that the GoldenEye, that's interesting. So
I just wish you could buy it.
yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, it is.
Joel, I have another question that
Uh-oh.
I just thought of, and Dad will roll his eyes because this is a thing that I talk about a lot.
No, go ahead.
And it
Oh
might have
no.
already come up on the stream. Did you ever own any Tiger handhelds? And how many do you have now?
I have none now.
Jason's building
And
a
I have-
collection. He loves
I
Tiger
have owned
handhelds.
one. I have owned one. I think it was a Castlevania one, if I remember right. And yeah, not a big Tiger fan, but yeah, wish I had it now. So yeah,
Some of those are worth a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, I think the
Yeah.
average price for your standard like old school Tiger handheld is
Yeah.
like $20 now.
$20,
Like,
yeah.
they take a little bit to
I
build.
I want a game com.
Never owned one of those either, man.
just because I think it would be really funny. Because it
I,
sucks.
I love your interest in these rare, crappy consoles.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. It is. There's something cool about that. Yeah.
I've considered pulling the trigger on a couple of different things like that for Jason for his birthday or for Christmas, and I feel really weird buying like a horrible system. Doesn't have anything fun to play on it and I know he would be over the moon. He's like, "Yes, I own this," and I'm like, most kids want to play video games on Christmas morning, not be like, "Here's this thing to put on the shelf," or play terrible games and laugh at them.
But do you know what it's like to see a video about something and never have held it in your hand or never have seen it or experienced it? So, yeah, I can understand that, man. You bet.
Okay, DJ, do you see anything else?
I've got, just one more in the chat from Jareth Gerhardt. Why has gaming got worse? It seems like it's got bad the last few years.
It's all cookie cutter. And when you buy a new game now, do you think that game's finished? I mean, is that your expectation? Or are you buying a game that is going to be almost broken and you have to patch and you have to fix? And it just seems like, unfinished games and lack of creativity, in my opinion. I'm not interested in a lot of the modern games. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like overall a really cynical industry right now, and it kind of hurts my feelings. Like the stuff where there's still kind of a passion driving it, and people are putting things out that are actually finished when they come out. Seem to be a lot more retro throwback stuff or independent studios that are like two or three guys sitting in their basement putting games together. I could spend the rest of my life playing nothing but mods or like remakes of old games that I like that are free online and never get to play them all. I don't. There's plenty, and then like there's free phone games. And I'm not a phone game guy, but the point I'm trying to make is there's so much stuff vying for your attention that AAA studios need to try harder because we don't need them. It's sort of like the way Hollywood needs to try harder. We have YouTube. We don't need them.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, 100%. And there are, so I would say some of the modern games that I really like are indie games. And Axiom Verge has been out for a while. That's a great game. You know, there's a lot of really good indie games out there, especially if you're a retro gamer. A lot of good stuff. So, and I'd rather play that than a modern AAA game. So there you go.
Yeah, it feels like work to me with a lot of that stuff. And I don't know what I'm missing because I haven't bothered with very much of that stuff in a long time, and I have a terrible sense of direction, so I'm really bad at 3D open world games anyway. But what I don't get is we're upping the price of games. Your average game now is $70 when it first comes out, and the reason to spend that price is for instant gratification because games tend to still get cheaper over time, and maybe there's a lot of DLC you have to buy, and then that ups the cost. But then you'll get Game of the Year editions of games that will be all the way down to $20 or $30 with all of the DLC included. If the game's not done on day one, why pay that much for it in the first place? So why not wait till it's like No Man's Sky? Was missing features, was not exactly what they promised. It's a wonderful game now. I like that game a lot, and I bought it when it came out, and I wasn't as disappointed as other people were because I just like the novelty of getting to explore randomly generated planets. But if I had waited and bought that 3 years later when it became a game people liked, I could have got it for $20 in the first place and then kept getting all these free updates. There's no reason, there's no incentive to buy a game day one right now most of the time, I don't think.
The only exception to that rule is Nintendo games for the Switch. They don't go down in price a lot. But, man, you're on a PS4 or Xbox One or, probably the newer consoles too, the next gen. But, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Especially, if there's a game that I really like that's modern, I will wait. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Come Christmas time, you're going to see a huge sale on it, and absolutely.
But you know what the difference is with first-party Nintendo games that don't lose their value? They're usually finished.
They're quality games.
And I don't want to toot Nintendo's horn too much because they make a lot of mistakes, and they're not a very consumer-friendly company either much of the time. And there's been a lot of, this is not just Nintendo by themselves, but there's been a lot of complaints lately about like Pokemon games that are kind of rushed out and stuff like that. But like when you get a new Mario or a Zelda or whatever, they retain their value. It's going to be $60 5 years from now. But when it came out, it's the whole game. There's never been DLC for that stuff, or at least the game is, when there is with like a Smash or a Mario Kart or whatever. Mario Kart 8 has been sitting there deluxe for 8 years, and it'd be nice to get a new Mario Kart game. But when they finally decide to just give us a whole bunch more tracks, there was a full game there in the first place, and also they're free now. So that's better at least. Yep.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Joel, I just thought of another question.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and start wrapping up here.
I thought of one more. If you had to completely restart your collection, would you rather build an entirely American collection or an entire Japanese collection?
What a killer question.
That's a great question. And I would say American because the focus of a lot of my collecting is games that I played back in the day. So I do have some Japanese imports, and I do love some Japanese imports are awesome. But yeah, my heart would be with the American games.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would probably say Japanese just because I didn't grow up with
Experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also they're cheaper. They look better than like.
The
I
cover
love
art's
what-
usually better.
I love what the
Yeah.
Famicom games look like. How they're all
Yeah.
different colors.
Yep.
And like DJ has his like movies by color, and like I think that would just look really cool if you just had a whole shelf of Famicom games just like that.
You put a lot of thought into that. That's an awesome answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool, man.
Yeah, I'm in awe of that question. I wouldn't have thought to ask that.
That's awesome.
That's neat.
But-
Yep. Again, I should have just let you have the show. It probably would have been better. DJ, do you see one or two more questions before we wrap up, sir?
Jareth Gearhart, what period of gaming are you most nostalgic for? His is Xbox 360.
Okay, that's cool.
Because he's a child. No, I'm just kidding.
he's a young.
Just
Well-
saying he's younger than us if he's
Well-
saying them.
I'm saying 3DS.
I'm sorry,
so-
Jareth. That was rude. My apology.
I'm saying 3DS, so I'm more of a child.
Well, you're an actual child.
Well, no.
Yeah, you're an actual child.
I am
You're 12. You're a child.
a post-child.
He's an old soul. He's an old soul. Yeah, there you go.
I agree with that.
But
But he's still a child.
I think mine would be 16-bit era.
Hey, I didn't ask you this earlier, Joel. So when you, and again, I have not fully pegged down your age, so I don't know if you were like a
I'm
teenager
50.
when you were playing. Or are you okay?
I'm
Okay.
57.
Okay. So
All
when
right.
you're okay, cool. Well, no, you don't have to come out and tell if you didn't want to, but I appreciate
I
that.
don't care, man. I am what I am.
But yeah, well, because I was rethinking earlier the couple of times I said like when we were growing up, and I was like, I think I probably grew up in a slightly different era than Joel did. Joel, did
I
you
still haven't grown up. So
did you
it's all good.
have a Super Nintendo and a Genesis at the same time, or are you more of a Genesis guy because that was the 16-bit system you had?
More of a Genesis guy because I had more games and had the Genesis longer. But I did actually own a SNES and a Sega Genesis at the same time at the tail end of my 16-bit stuff. And it's weird because the Sega Genesis was a little more edgy and considered a little more, older,
Yeah.
older age, And there was a time when the Super NES was considered kind of a kid's console. And
That's right.
I love the Super NES.
It looked
but-
like a kid's console.
Yeah, I didn't like the look of it either, honestly, and that shouldn't have anything to do with it, but it does.
Yeah. No, it does. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so weird. How much of your nostalgia is tied to the look of the console? Like when I think about Genesis, sure, there's the games I love, but weirdly, I kind of think about the shape of it first. Like it's just a sleek looking console. Now, I gotta ask you this: are you more of a Model 1 or a Model 2 person?
Oh, I'm Model 1.
Of Super Nintendo?
No,
Or
Genesis.
Genesis. Oh.
I'm so off on an island with this. Everybody I talk to likes the Model 1
I'm
better,
a
but
Model 3 guy.
that's weird.
Well,
That's third party. That's not even.
yeah, that's
Sega didn't even make that.
No.
yeah. All the models kind of have, well, there's some good Model 2s.
I just like how
they're
Model 3
early
looks
ones.
so cheap. It just looks
It
cool.
does.
It just looks so cool, even though it was like
Yeah.
made with like no budget.
This one's my favorite. It looks cheap.
The best looking console though, and I think maybe that is a little bit of nostalgia to me, is the Jaguar. It looks awesome. It's just a cool looking console. So
Did you have that when it was out?
yeah,
Wow, you're one of 5 people who did.
yeah. Didn't know anybody on my block or that I worked with that had one. Yeah.
That's wild. Well, they were
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, they sure dropped in a hurry though.
Oh, okay.
Price came down. You could go in and what was it, $129 at one point, and came with a game or two, and yeah.
What did it launch at?
I think it was I want to say $300 or $400.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it
Okay,
was the
but you know
first time
what?
I ever played Doom on. That's the first time I played Doom was on the Jag. So
But you know what? Nobody on the planet owned a 3DO.
yeah, yeah, I
Or a
did have one
CDI.
at one time.
You had a
Yeah,
3DO.
yeah. And there's a
That's
couple of my
crazy.
buddies in our trade group that really love their 3DO, and yeah, on a collect. I almost traded the PC Engine Duo. I could have got a 3DO instead, but I went with the PC Engine Duo. But yeah,
That's just kind of a cooler thing to own, I think.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm glad with that trade. I love the PC Engine. Yeah.
DJ, do you see anything else that's earth-shattering?
I
No,
like,
I just have one from I think someone that Joel knows. That I have completely just lost because the chat just updated. This is from the Real Bit Wars. Joel.
Oh yeah.
He says, Joel, my friend, Duff is wondering who is your favorite member of the Retro Collective.
Man, that's a tough question, but I would have to go with Duff. Duff and I went around and round, and but yeah, if you haven't seen Duff, check out the Real Bit Wars. Chris over there. Duff invades his videos and does a lot of drinking and swearing,
That's what
Sounds
and
great.
he's always trolling the Nintendo kids. So there you go.
Well, he would have to do a lot of drinking with that namesake.
He likes Duff beer. So, I'm not a drinker, but Duff is.
Joel, before we end out here, sorry, you want to say something?
there was a DJ. There was a comment that AMC Comics put that was really long that I kind of wanted to talk about real quick.
It's super
was
long.
a
Let's
little
do it very quickly.
The one that just dropped, the last one there, Jason?
No, it was more up about the PC games.
Speaking of retro PC games, has anybody ever played Sid Meier's Pirates? That has to be one of the games that I could most often pop in and sink endless hours into. Also, it has to be the best pirate game like ever.
Why did you want to talk about that?
I wanted to talk about that because I've never played that game, but Mom's a really big fan of that game.
Oh, that's right.
She
There
played
you
that
go.
a lot
Oh.
as a kid, so I just wanted to
Awesome.
bring that up because I wasn't sure if DJ was gonna say that or not. If was gonna bring that comment up or not, but
I feel like I missed out on a really good game on that one because I never did play that. I watched some videos about it, and man, it looks really good.
she
Maybe
said
I'll have
it
to
was like
check into that.
Carmen San Diego, but with pirates.
All right,
Sold.
there you go.
Joel, real quick before we finish up, I meant to ask you about this earlier. You've brought up the Evercade a few times, and a lot of people, I'm sure, don't know what that is. So would you just speak to that for a little bit? Because you and Metal Jesus and some other people on the internet are real pushing that system and trying to get people to look at it, because the cartridge system they do is really interesting.
Yeah, it's basically a new modern retro device, and they actually have physical media for it. So you buy cartridges, and they're really reasonable, about 20 to 30 bucks. And they came out with a Verse, and they also have a handheld. Well, the Verse connects to your TV. The handheld does too, but the Verse is more of a console, and it can hold 2 cartridges at once. Really, the cool thing about the Evercade is the physical media, in my opinion. That's just cool. And there's a lot of arcade games that you can get for the Evercade, and their emulation is excellent. So that's what I got playing on the big screen back there. Yeah.
How much do the cartridges tend to run? Because I know most of those have like several games on a cartridge, right?
Yeah, you get a lot. You usually get 5 or more on a cartridge. There's a few dual cartridges out there, and there's a few new indie retro type games on them, which is really cool. Cathedral. But they usually run anywhere from 20 to 30 bucks.
So is that like Criterion for video games?
Criterion?
It's like
The criteria?
it's like a DJ can explain it.
It's just a boutique line that is trying to preserve. It's a little bit different from movies. I guess. I don't know. They're just trying to preserve film. They're just putting out nice, high quality physical releases of.
Yeah,
films.
I don't know that they're really trying to preserve it, but it's a cheap way to play some excellent retro games on your TV and have physical media. They come with manuals, full color manuals.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, remember that back in the day? It's when you'd actually get a manual with a game.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the attractiveness, and several arcade games that I would not be able to play otherwise unless I emulated them, you know, on my PC or something. But, yeah.
Joel, thanks a ton for joining us tonight. I hope you had a good time.
I had a blast.
We covered all kinds
Thank
of
you.
stuff in the retro gaming sphere in 2 hours. There's probably no need for me to ever do another stream on this topic, but I probably will. Joel, would you very quickly tell everybody where they can find you and say the name of your channel again so I don't botch it? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. It's the Poor Man's Retro Game Room on YouTube. You just do a search on the Poor Man's Retro Game Room and you'll come right up with my channel. And it's all things retro gaming and nostalgic, and yeah, I just do videos on things I'm passionate about. So,
well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on. I saw your video on your tour, and on a whim I was like, let's see if we can get this guy. He'd be fun.
well, I'm glad you asked. It's been an honor, and had a lot of fun tonight.
Absolutely. We'll come back sometime. I hope to talk to you again
Absolutely.
soon. And everybody,
Yeah.
thanks so very much for watching the Captain Logan Show. We'll be back again next Tuesday night, as always, for a regular show with a lead-in topic about some kind of pop culture news. Hopefully it's not horribly depressing. And tomorrow night, once again, we're doing another ridiculous show that's Austin's fault. So if you're annoyed that we're wasting a night on this, it's all because of Austin. And we're going to be watching and commenting on Lyle Crocodile.
Oh, yes. I've been waiting for that stream.
So look forward to that. And here in about half an hour or so, we're going to start Geekvolution After Dark and we'll go for an hour and a half there. We'll be reading more horrible Sonic fanfic and talking about topics that are maybe too risque for the show. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and we had our special guest, Joel. From the Poor Man's Retro Game Room. Hey, I got it right. And
Right, got it.
DJ Martinez, our wonderful chat moderator and producer.
Thanks. Always a
And
pleasure.
the not as special guest.
And a child.
Hey,
Thanks for being here, folks.
I'm a post-child. I should probably stop saying that.
We'll see you later, folks. Bye-bye.